Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown. The barn is very cold at night. We'd like some electric blankets. Sincerely, love, cows. It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn. Now they want electric blankets. No way! Said Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown. No electric blankets. So the cows went on strike and left another note on the barn door which read, "Sorry, we're closed. No milk today." No milk today? Cried Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown. Yet in the background they heard the cows busy at work. The typewriter. Click, clack, moo. Click, clack, moo. Click, clack, moo. The next day, Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown got another note, which read, "Dear Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown, the hens are cold. They like electric. Yes, we are cold too, and would like electric blankets." Cows and hens were growing impatient with the farmer and his wife. They left a new note on the barn door which read, "Dear Farmer Brown, Mrs. Brown, today we'll start strike, no milk today. And we are on strike and closed. No eggs today." No milk and no eggs? Cried Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown. In the background they heard them. Click, clack, moo. Click, clack, moo. Clickety, clack, moo. Cows that type, hens on strike? Who ever heard of such a thing? How can we run a farm with no milk and no eggs? Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown were furious that they got out their own typewriter and wrote, "Dear cows and hens, there will be no electric blankets. Your cows and hens, we demand milk and eggs. Sincerely, Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown." Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown needed a neutral party, so they chose two of the ducks. Quack, 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 quack. Since we are a neutral party, quack, 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 we will deliver the ultimatum to the cows. Quack, quack, quack. The cows held an emergency meeting. All the animals gathered around the barn to snoop, but none of them could understand moo language. Moo, 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 moo. eagerly for an answer to their note to the cows and hens. Early in the morning, the ducks returned carrying a note.
This note is the answer to your note you wrote to them. Quack, quack, quack.
Dear Father and Mrs. Brown, you will trade our typewriter for the electric blankets, leave them outside the barn door, and you will send the ducks over with the typewriter.
Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown decided it was a good deal. So they left the electric blankets out by the barn door and waited for the ducks to return the typewriter. But the two ducks had another idea.
Quack, quack, quack. It worked for the cows and it worked for the hens. Maybe it will work for us ducks. Quack, quack, quack. We'll use it one more time before we give it back. Quack, quack, quack.
The next morning, the two ducks delivered the note from all the ducks to Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown.
Quack, quack, quack. Dear Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown, the pond is quite boring. We would like a diving board. Quack, quack, quack. Sincerely the ducks. Quack, quack, quack.
Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown had learned a valuable lesson about giving and receiving. So they delivered the electric blankets next to the barn door, built a diving board next to the pond, and the ducks delivered the typewriter to him.